The moment I parked my brand new Bentley Continental GT in the driveway of my new home, I knew I was being watched. I hadn't even turned off the engine when I spotted her in my rearview mirror. A middle-aged woman with a sharp brunette bob and oversized designer sunglasses, storming across the cul-de-sac like she was on a mission. Her pastel cardigan flapped in the breeze as she power-walked directly toward my vehicle, her face contorted in what I can only describe as preemptive outrage. "Excuse me," she shouted, loud enough that I could hear her through the closed windows of my car. "Who are you, and what are you doing with that vehicle?" I stepped out calmly, keys in hand. "Hi there. I'm Marcus, the new homeowner at 1542 Willow Creek Drive. Just moving in today." She looked me up and down with naked skepticism, her eyes lingering on my casual attire jeans and a simple button-up shirt. "Nothing about me, apparently," screamed Bentley owner to her. "That's impossible," she declared, folding her arms. "The Andersons sold to a young professional. You're barely out of high school." "I'm 21, actually," I replied with a polite smile. "And yes, I bought the Anderson place last month. The paperwork just finalized." Her eyes narrowed as she circled my car like a shark. "No one your age can afford this car unless they've stolen it. I'm calling the police right now. We don't tolerate criminals in Willow Creek Estates." Before I could respond, she had her phone out, dramatically dialing 911 while maintaining intense eye contact with me, as if daring me to flee the scene of my supposed crime. I leaned against my car and waited. This wasn't exactly the welcome wagon I'd expected, but I'd dealt with enough skepticism about my success to know better than to lose my cool. As president of a successful tech startup that had just been acquired for 8 figures, I'd grown accustomed to being underestimated because of my age. "Yes, officer," she was saying into her phone, her voice pitched to carry across the entire cul-de-sac. "There's a suspicious young man with a Bentley that cannot possibly belong to him. I believe we have a grand theft auto situation at 1542 Willow Creek Drive. Please hurry before he escapes." I sighed and pulled out my own phone, sending a quick text to my assistant about the delay. This was going to be a longer move-in day than I'd anticipated. The self-appointed neighborhood watchdog ended her call with a triumphant smile. "The police will be here any minute. I suggest you don't try to leave." "I'm not going anywhere," I assured her. "This is my house and my car." "But I don't believe I caught your name." "I'm Brenda Albright," she announced with unmistakable pride, president of the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association for 6 consecutive terms. "And you definitely don't look like a homeowner in our community." Of course, her name was Brenda. The universe apparently had a sense of humor. "Well, Brenda, I assure you, I am the legal owner of both this home and this vehicle," I said, retrieving my wallet to show her my identification. "Would you like to see the deed to the house as well? I have digital copies of everything." She waved away my driver's license without even glancing at it. "I've seen plenty of fake IDs in my time. The Willow Creek HOA has a strict vetting process for new residents, and I don't recall approving anyone who looks like you." By looks like you, I had a sinking feeling she wasn't just referring to my age. Brenda was eyeing my brown skin with the same suspicion she'd given my car. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that her bias was her problem, not mine. "The Homeowners Association doesn't approve individual buyers, Brenda. That's not how real estate transactions work," I explained calmly. "The previous owners accepted my offer, my financing cleared, and the sale closed legally. I'm now a resident of Willow Creek Estates, whether the HOA president personally approved me or not." Brenda's face flushed an alarming shade of red. "We'll see about that. And we'll certainly see about that car. Number 21-year-old has that kind of money unless something illegal is happening. Did you hack someone's bank account? Is this some kind of money laundering scheme?" She had begun pacing around my vehicle, taking photos with her phone from every angle, including the license plate. I noticed a few neighbors had emerged from their homes, watching the spectacle with undisguised curiosity. Brenda seemed to draw energy from her growing audience. "I've seen this type of scam before," she announced loudly, clearly performing for the onlookers. "Young person shows up with luxury items they couldn't possibly afford legitimately. Next thing you know, we have drug deals happening in our quiet community. Not on my watch." I opened the glove compartment of my car and retrieved the vehicle registration and insurance documentation. "Brenda, I'm a tech entrepreneur. My company was just acquired last year. I can show you the registration that proves this car is mine, legally purchased from Prestige Motors of LA 3 months ago. She squinted at the papers I offered but refused to take them. Oh, please. Anyone can forge documents these days. My nephew works in cybersecurity, and he warns me about sophisticated criminals all the time. Just then, 2 police cruisers pulled into the cul-de-sac. Their arrival causing Brenda's expression to shift from hostility to smug satisfaction. She straightened her cardigan and adopted what I can only describe as a damsel in distress posture as the officers approached. "Officers, thank goodness you're here," she exclaimed, hurrying over to them. "I caught this young man red-handed with a stolen luxury vehicle. He's trying to claim he lives here, but I'm the HOA president, and I know all legitimate residents." The 2 officers, one older with a salt and pepper mustache, the other younger and clean-shaven, approached cautiously. The older officer addressed me first. "Sir, we received a call about a possible stolen vehicle. Can I see your license and registration?" "Of course, officer," I replied, handing over the documents I'd already prepared. "I'm Marcus Johnson. I just closed on this house and was moving in today when this lady accused me of stealing my own car." The younger officer examined my paperwork while his partner kept an eye on the situation. Brenda hovered nearby, interjecting constantly. "He's obviously using fake identification," she insisted. "I've been president of this HOA for 6 years, and I personally review all new homeowner applications. This young man would never qualify for our community. And that car, that's a $300,000 vehicle. He's barely old enough to drink." The older officer raised an eyebrow at her commentary, but remained professional. "Ma'am, please step back and let us do our job." The younger officer had been running my information through their system. He approached his partner and spoke quietly, but I could still hear him. "Everything checks out. Vehicle is registered to him, no flags. Insurance is current. House deed transfer was recorded with the county last month." Brenda must have overheard as well because she interjected with increasing desperation. "That's impossible. Check again. He must have hacked the system or something. People like him don't drive cars like that." The subtle emphasis on "people like him" wasn't lost on either officer. The older one turned to her with a cooler expression. "Ma'am, what exactly do you mean by people like him?" Brenda faltered momentarily, but quickly recovered. "Young people. 21-year-olds don't have Bentleys unless something illegal is happening. I'm just protecting our neighborhood's property values and safety." At this point, a neighbor from across the street approached. He was an older gentleman with silver hair and a friendly face. "Officers, I hate to interrupt, but I think you should see something." He held up his phone. My doorbell camera captured this entire interaction. I was watching the live stream from my office when I heard the commotion. Brenda's expression shifted from righteous indignation to uncertainty for the first time. "I'd be happy to email you the footage," the neighbor continued, "including the parts where Mrs. Albright used some rather unfortunate language before you arrived." "What language would that be, sir?" the younger officer asked. The neighbor glanced uncomfortably at me. "Well, she suggested that, and I quote, 'we don't need his kind bringing down our property values,' and that she would make sure he's removed from this neighborhood one way or another." There was other terminology used that I'd rather not repeat in public. Brenda's face drained of color. "That's completely taken out of context. I was merely expressing concern about maintaining our community standards." The older officer turned back to me. "Sir, your documentation appears to be in order. I apologize for the inconvenience." He handed back my license and registration. "You're free to continue moving into your new home." Then he turned to Brenda, his demeanor noticeably less cordial. "Mrs. Albright, may I speak with you privately for a moment?" As they stepped away, I could see Brenda's animated gestures becoming increasingly frantic. The younger officer remained nearby, apologizing again for the disruption to my move-in day. "No problem, officer," I assured him. "I understand you were just responding to a call." More neighbors had gathered, and I noticed several were giving Brenda disapproving looks rather than me. The tide had shifted dramatically. After several minutes of conversation, the older officer took out his notepad and began writing something. Brenda's voice suddenly rose several octaves. "You cannot be serious. I was performing my civic duty. I'm the president of the HOA." What happened next left everyone on the street in shock. The older officer calmly recited Miranda rights to Brenda, who stood frozen in disbelief. Brenda Albright, you're being placed under arrest for filing a false police report and for verbal harassment with discriminatory intent. Both are misdemeanors in this state. This is outrageous. Brenda shrieked as the officer gently but firmly guided her toward the patrol car. I was protecting our community. This is reverse discrimination. I'll have your badge for this. Her protestations grew louder as the reality of her situation sank in. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just being cautious. You can't arrest someone for being careful. The neighbors watched in stunned silence as Brenda, who had terrorized the community with petty rule enforcement and threats for years, was placed in the back of a police cruiser. Her final words before the door closed were, "This is a misunderstanding. Call my attorney." A week later, I received an official letter from the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association. Brenda had been immediately suspended from her position pending a formal vote. The emergency meeting resulted in her permanent removal from the board with a unanimous decision of 27-0. Additionally, she faced legal consequences, a $5,000 fine for the false police report and mandatory community service hours. According to neighborhood gossip, her real estate firm had placed her on administrative leave after multiple clients requested not to work with her. When I ran into her at the local grocery store, her previously imperious demeanor had vanished. She actively avoided eye contact, her face flushing with embarrassment as she abandoned her shopping cart and hurried toward the exit. The neighborhood tyrant's reign had ended with a simple consequence of her own actions, and the visible shock on her face as she fled the store told me she still couldn't believe her authority had crumbled so completely.